In the integration of this now, just a little bit, I have a lesson. I have 3 lessons I'm going to read you from the Epistle of Jesus Christ and Course in Miracles, and for 2 reasons. One, to show you the incredible certainty of the workbook of the Course, that is, so that your new mind can see that it's not a hyperbole, that the Course says what it means. I don't know what the lessons are. I wrote them down. I was given a couple of numbers. It'll also give you perhaps a little more association with the manner in which you may teach the workbook or may teach the Course, because your minds have a tendency to pass over sentences. Some of you have been doing the Course and doing the Course and doing the Course. You've never actually stopped and looked at what it says. I'm going to help you do that a little bit. So just sit gently, those of you who are digesting, and I'll read very quietly, and I have a contract to do this. So A Course in Miracles from the workbook by Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Our lessons for today are that's the text. I need where's my workbook? Where are my glasses? Where am I? Our lessons are 3 lessons that we're supposed to do. The first one is a wonderful lesson. Listen to this. This is lesson 79, and this is what happened to you this morning. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let me recognize what my problem really is, okay, and then I'll be able to solve it. It's always seemed to you that out here are all sorts of problems, and you keep trying to solve them. They're like brush fires. You rush out and you do that, and you rush out and do that. Let's stop like you did this morning and take a look at this. Listen. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. The first admission in the Course in Miracles is what? First, you have to know you have a problem. There's all sorts of consciousnesses that participate in the conflict that won't even admit they have a problem. They just say, that's the way life is, that's the way the world is, you've got to expect it to be conflictual, you're going to have to go out and fight for everything you got. That's not a problem to me, that's a demonstration of my own reality, and I'm going to attack and defend and prove myself in that situation. Okay. Now the next step after that is say, hey, I got a problem here. I'm having problem solving, and I seem to solve it, and it keeps coming back again, all right? Now, that's what this says. Now, a problem cannot be solved if you don't know what it is. You know you have it, you don't know what it is. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation of your mind, which is really the only problem that you could ever have, being separated from God, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized. Why? The problem is not recognized. If you don't consider your problem only to be separation, it would be impossible for you to see that the problem has already been solved because the cause and effect are not apart and you're not identifying the problem. Your problem is being separated from God, not in reality, but in what you think you are. Okay, now you can see that the problem has already been solved. But first you must what? Delineate the problem. Make the admission that you are separate and apparently can't solve the problem by your own devices. All right? Now, everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they're all the same and must be recognized as one if the solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? You keep finding solutions to separation. You keep justifying your existence in solving the immediate problem that presents itself to you within the association of your own concept of what you are. You don't seek the whole problem, but you identify yourself in the limited sickness that you possess, for example. And you take an aspirin for your headache, all right? Or all of the results that you bring about in an attempt to satisfy your existence in relationship to the falsity of the separation. This is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you're still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seem to confront you. As the one is settled, the next one and the next one arises. And there seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. Now, the temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. You literally cannot solve the problem if in your perceptual association with yourself you continue to identify separate problems in association with what you are. You ready? One problem, one solution. Okay. You have one problem. It's you. Okay? This will get real nice for you if you're willing to accept it. Okay. Then you can move to, I am the cause of this. Nothing outside of me can harm me. Okay? Which is really into the teachings of the workbook. Okay. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which your problem solving must be inadequate and failure is inevitable. Listen, and you know this is true. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels in such varying forms and with such varied content, and they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly just as you think you've resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved until under a cloud of denial, and then they rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be buried down again as still unsolved, like your death that's coming on you now. Holy mackerel, I don't know how you could stand this. Isn't this lovely? You ready for this? All of this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. Notice it says not to let it be resolved. It doesn't say to resolve it. It says to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all of the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all, and this is what I'm trying to give you, the constancy to recognize that all of these problems are only you. And that by admissions that you have the problems, you can bring together in the single solution of the relinquishment of your necessity to solve them at all. The problems of the earth cannot be solved. This is what this is telling you. They cannot be solved. They are constructions of your determination to hold on to yourself in your false perceptual associations. A problem that's not real cannot be solved. Any problem that was real, and that would be your problem of separation, would have to be solved instantly if it were a problem. It could not be solved. The idea, can you hear this? The idea of a problem is the idea of the solution. You could not construct a problem to which there's not a solution. Can you hear this? What you do is you hold it down and say, this is the problem, this is the solution. You hold it in a limited perceptual association. The fact of the matter is you have one problem and one solution. It would be impossible to have a problem that's not connected to a solution. Otherwise, how could you have the problem? Not only that, but you must have solved it. Because if there is a problem, there is a solution, because cause and effect are not apart. You keep them apart and then go through all this ritual of space-time of attempting to solve the problem separate from its source. You attempt to solve the effects of the problem that you have instigated in your own mind. You can't do it and it won't work. Okay. If you could recognize that your only problem in separation is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could perceive the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all of the problems that seem to confront you, you'd understand that you have the means to solve them all, and you would use the means because you recognize the problem. Okay. Now these are the exercises today. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all of your preconceived notions go. That's not necessary. What is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your aversion of what the problem is. Let me recognize the problem so that it can be solved. Let me admit that I am suffering pain and sickness and death, and that through my admission of this and the letting go of my associations, I can come to know God. One problem, one solution. You be happy that you're the problem. Do you realize the momencity of the weak mind, of the self-constructed mind, if you really have a problem outside of yourself and you have to mitigate it in an attempt to be understood? How are you ever going to solve it if it's out there? You then become dependent on a judgment that you have placed separate from yourself to solve your problem. This is the condition of your mind, guys. It's awful. Okay. You ask them to solve the problem for you, but they can't possibly know the answer except that you have given them the solution within your own mind. Wow. And then you get into a double bind of guilt, because you listen to the answers that mind is giving you, and that mind is going to share your guilt with you, isn't it? That mind is going to authenticate the problem through the effects rather than you recognizing that you're the cause of this. Okay? This is lesson, 79 of the workbook. This is after lesson 76 that says that you're under no laws but God's that direct you to simply relinquish everything. The toughest lesson in the course. I'll let you do that by yourself tonight. Is it okay if we do the workbook of the course? That's what salvation is. This is the method that you can use if you choose to, the catechism of reality that you can choose to let this be solved. I have a problem. I have the solution here with me. It is not out there. There was